Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Fit Chicks Chat. My name's Laura Jackson,
And I'm Amanda Quinn. I
and
almost said I'm Laura Jackson. I don't even know why.
I know I was like, did I just say I'm Laura Jackson, or did
I
you
don't know.
say? I don't know. Anyways, welcome to today's podcast. We are talking about veggies today. I love it when we do a
Delicious.
nutrition podcast because we haven't done one in a while.
So delicious. And I love talking about veggies. And it's funny because I don't know if anyone knows this, but back in the day when I was like 15, 16, do you remember this, Laura? When I was like, I thought I was a vegan or I wanted to become a vegan. But this was back in the day when it wasn't like really popular, but I didn't like veggies back then and I had never really eaten veggies. So I was trying to be a vegan, but like all I was eating was crackers and apples. And then I
Oh,
became
yes.
anemic and it was like this whole disaster. I don't, not recommended. 1 out of 10, not recommended. But like,
Well, and
it's
and this is
but I
why
love talking about
too.
veggies now because I love veggies now, and it's like a huge shift in my life.
Yeah, and this is why too, obviously, if you are someone who's vegetarian or vegan, you have to make sure too that you are eating enough
Proper.
veggies. And these are some really great ways to up your veggie intake. So that's what we're going to be
Yeah.
talking about today because even as, vegans or vegetarians does not mean you're necessarily a nutritionally dense vegan or vegetarian, right? You might be eating we have
Crackers
friends
and
who are
apples.
vegans and they're eating, you know, rice crackers and like diet pop, right? Like things that are not animal products, but they're still not nutritionally dense. So we want to make sure that we're eating as real whole foods as possible because we want all the vitamins, the minerals, the fiber. We want to fill
Protein.
ourselves up,
Mhm.
all of the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we posted this actually on our TikTok channel and
Mhm.
we got a bunch of saves and it was our most likes. So if you haven't gone on TikTok yet, please follow us at Fit Chicks Academy. Send us some love, give us some comments. We are now over 100 followers. I'm so excited. Um,
It's a
but we
slow
posted,
burn, but it's happening.
yeah, but we posted this on our TikTok and it was just interesting the comments and the reactions that people had to it because for us we just take this as kind of second nature because it's what we talk about every day, but for a lot of people, whether it be for yourself or for clients, they really struggle with thinking about how to get more veggies in other than eating something like a salad.
Yeah. 100%. People always are thinking like, oh, in order to eat vegetables, I have to eat a salad. Or they think that just, having a little bit at dinner time is enough, right? That's actually a very big misconception as well, is just having that like, the meat and potatoes kind of mentality. Like that's like
Yeah,
what
and a
my
side of
parents used to
broccoli.
have. Exactly. That's exactly what I was envisioning, right? Or like a side of corn. That's like what we used to have when I was growing up. It was always so much
And
corn.
corn's not even a vegetable,
I
it's a
know.
grain.
I know, but it's crazy because people don't even realize that, and they think that that's enough vegetables to get you through the day when really you should be having vegetables with every single meal, with every single snack. Like it should be a part of every single time that you're eating and grazing because that's the thing that's going to up your fiber intake. That's going to be all of your vitamins and stuff. And I'm sorry, everyone that are listening. I have a really bad cough right now, so my voice is weird.
No, but it's so true. And I find, one of the things we talk about with our students a lot is getting into the mentality of really planning meals around vegetables because we tend to plan meals too for our clients or for ourselves around proteins. So we're like, oh, I'm having chicken for dinner. What am I going to have with the chicken? Or I'm
Totally.
having, or I'm doing pasta. Like it's either proteins or carbs that we tend to plan around, and we don't think of it from the perspective of veggies.
The
So
mighty
once we even,
vegetable.
yeah, like
That
once
should
we
be
even
like the highlight.
and once you have that shift, it also changes the way you cook and the way like your mind opens up to different ways of what you're like of preparing foods and what you're going to eat and all of this stuff, right? So we included on this TikTok 7 ways that you could increase your veggie intake. So we're going to go through them. The first one is, of course, everyone knows salads.
Mhm.
So salads are still so when salads first became popular, I don't know what year it was. It was like literally the 1600s or something. But the reasons why salads came about, they were eaten before a meal to essentially stimulate digestive juices. So, even if you still go to places like Italy, you will eat a salad before a meal or you'll eat a lot of bitter greens, and those are really good to improve digestion.
Mhm.
So you'd eat the salad before the meal, and that would prepare your body to digest the meal that was ahead. So that was kind of where, over time it was adopted that, oh, we'll have a salad as an appetizer. And
Mhm.
then it moved into we'll have a salad as lunch instead of just as an appetizer. So there's so many different ways you could still get salads in. You could have a small salad as a side. You could have it as an appetizer. You could sub out your whole meal for a big salad. Like we always talk about like everything but the kitchen sink salads where you're just like throwing in all the veggies, some protein, some healthy fat dressing, and then you've got a complete and three meal, right? But it's
Mhm.
based around those vegetables.
I actually try, my sort of my rule is that one meal, usually my lunch, is a salad every day. And when I follow that rule, I feel really good. Like I feel like I'm like, and I always, it's so embarrassing, but I always use a mixing bowl. That's actually what I eat
Oh, me
from.
too.
And I know, well, even when we lived together, we always ate out of those big mixing bowls. That's all that we would eat our salads from because I just like it because then it's just like you just throw it all in, you mix it up, and you just eat out of this
Nothing's
giant bowl.
overflowing.
You look like you look like you're literally just, like, eating from this super giant bowl, but it's just, like, it's the easiest way to eat it for me instead of having it on a plate or something when it's, like, falling
Oh, and
off.
you can't
Anyway,
stir it, and the salad dressing doesn't get all the way through, and it's like,
true.
yeah, everyone
Those are
get the mixing
facts.
bowls. Get the
Yeah.
mixing bowls.
Get the mixing bowl out, throw it all in, and you've got yourself a delicious meal, but I that's kind of my rule is 1 meal a day is just a big salad, and by doing that, I find that I balance out my diet in a, um like just in my eating approach and everything. It's just the way that works best for my body. It makes me feel good. And I know that I'm getting a lot of vegetables in at that point, just in case, like later on or in the morning, because I don't like having vegetables for breakfast. It usually makes my stomach hurt. So,
Well, and this is where too, like if you think about it too, like a salad could be lettuce based, it could be like coleslaw based, it could be kale based. It could even be a warm salad. There's so many different salads now where it's like a sautéed, you saute your veggies and you eat it warm and having a dressing on
yeah.
top of that. So there's a lot of different bases and things that you could build. We love power bowls. So again, I mentioned the complete and three rule of the protein, the fiber, and the fat. So
Hmm.
building bowls that are full of veggies that are, essentially salad bowls, but they are power bowls because they balance out blood sugar and they have a ton of protein in there as well to power you up, keep you full, and all the good stuff. So salads
Hmm.
are our number one.
For sure.
The second one, and I love this time of year, is soups.
Oh,
So
totally a favorite. Yeah.
I love soups. And, we live in a cooler climate. So always wintertime. I always think of, summer is more for smoothies, and that's was our number three, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Summer is more of like smoothies and coldness. I want that coldness. But in the wintertime, you want that warmness, right? And soups are incredible to add and hide as well for those non-veggie eaters. So many vegetables.
Hmm.
Like you could do, I always make homemade bone broth and I do huge batches of like chicken soup with tons of veggies. Again, everything with the kitchen sink I throw in there. Or you
Yeah.
could do cream blended soup. So I made like a carrot ginger soup the other day with coconut milk, blended that all up. So it's more of a puree. Like there's so many options for it and you don't have to do the same soup twice. Like there's so many variations of beef soup or chicken or fish or vegetarian. Um, I just love, love, love soups for veggie intake.
Me too, and I also really like, soups and stews. So
Yeah.
I do a lot of stews as well in my household. They're very popular, and I love it just because it's like the same sort of concept, right? But then I usually, if I'm making a stew, the big differentiator for me is like if it's a stew, I add potatoes to it, and if it's a soup, I usually don't. My new favorite veggie though to add to soup that I just made like a chicken rice soup the other day, and I added baby bok choy, like chopped
Oh,
up
I
baby
love
bok
baby
choy
bok
to it.
choy.
So good. It was so good. My mom actually gave me the idea, which was surprising because my mom used to just be a canned vegetable kind of lady, and now she's all very experimental, which I love.
But that's the
But
thing
yeah,
that's so
it's so
fun
good.
is like especially too if you have an instant pot, there are so many
Exactly.
things that you would not typically put in a soup because the preparation for it, like a lot of squashes, right? Like butternut squash even to
Hmm.
peel and to roast and to blah blah. It's 5,000 steps. You put it in the instant pot for 7 minutes. It's soft. You scoop it out and add the coconut milk and whatever else and blend it up. It's delicious.
Yeah,
Right. So there's so many different vegetables you could try, but also like you were saying, the bok choy, like there's so many things that you wouldn't normally think that will taste delicious in a soup.
so
So,
good.
like a
And
member
just
of my
adds
family,
so many more vitamins.
yeah, they hate cabbage, like coleslaw and raw cabbage and all of that. But you put cabbage in a soup, they don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And like this is one of the things too with my son. He's not a picky eater. He's a year and a half, but he also, like, for me, I just try to give him a ton of soups and stews and same thing to get a ton like, different veggies in and also try to get him used to mixed flavors, and he loves it.
Yeah. No, same with Mads, my daughter, like, she's totally, like, I can put anything if I put, like, certain vegetables in front of her, sometimes she'll be like, "Mm, no, I don't like it," but if it's in a soup, she'll just eat it. She doesn't even, like,
Yeah.
think about it. She's like, "Oh, this is delicious," right?
Well,
And I
because a
don't even have
lot
to
of
hide them, I don't have
vegetables
to blend them, it's literally just she sees it on the spoon, but she'll still eat it because it's just presented differently. So that's
well,
a really great tip for parents too, just, like,
yeah,
even
and
presenting
because
it a
also a
different
lot of
way.
vegetables completely change their flavor when they're cooked versus raw. Like, think of cauliflower
Completely.
raw versus roasted cauliflower versus, like, cauliflower mash or cauliflower soup. It
Mhm.
completely mellows out. Same thing with onions, right? Onions, when they're raw, they're so pungent and, like, bright, whereas when they're cooked, they're mellow. So it's like so especially when you have clients, a lot of clients will say, I don't like vegetables. So I always recommend, make sure you're asking, okay, do you not like X vegetables raw? Do you also not like them cooked? Like, that is a question because some people don't even consider that. They're like, no, I just don't like cabbage. And it's
No,
like,
you're absolutely right. I have an aunt who only eats raw vegetables. She
yeah.
just doesn't like cooked vegetables, but she will eat raw vegetables, so peppers, carrots, everything, but she just doesn't like them cooked.
Well, because
And
they
so
have a
it's like,
totally different flavor too,
yeah,
right? Like, so it's a really great way, again, and with your clients, you don't even always have to have fresh vegetables. You could use frozen vegetables. I always have bags of frozen vegetables. Throw them in any soup you're making just to bulk it up. And then number three was smoothies. So we kind of talked about that. Those are to me like the cool version of soups.
yeah,
You can make delicious smoothies from frozen vegetables, frozen fruits. You can hide a ton of veggies. So all of your greens like spinach are more romaine lettuce, all of those greens are more mellow. Even kale though, if you're doing it with, mixing in with different things like protein powder and frozen berries, like that will kind of blend into the flavor, but you're essentially just having like a veggie drink
yeah.
if you make smoothies correctly. We teach this in our certifications, how to build weight loss approved green smoothies, because a lot of people still make them as sugar bombs. They're like, oh, I'm doing
Like
a
a
smoothie a
milkshake.
day. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's strawberries, yogurt, orange juice. It's like, no,
yeah,
we need to get some protein, fiber, healthy fats. We need to make sure that we are hitting certain goals for a caloric range, all that good stuff.
yeah. No, for sure. And smoothies, I think, one of the biggest things too is like looking at different, I like using a lot of different frozen fruits for them too. So if you are going to put in fruits, because then it's like your ice. So then it like keeps it really cool. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like one less step. That's why I like using frozen fruits. And also just because then you have like fresh fruits and you don't have to, they're usually a little bit less expensive, especially where we live during different seasons, right? And then you don't have to worry about
Exactly.
is it in season or not. Hmm.
Exactly. And then number four is breakfast bowls. So Amanda was saying how she struggles with getting veggies in at breakfast. So
Well, I don't
anything
like
in a
raw
bowl,
veggies at breakfast. It makes me feel sick. That's why.
anything in a
It
bowl
hurts my stomach.
is
Hmm.
delicious. Anything in a bowl
Yeah.
is delicious. So you could do so. I love breakfast bowls. Again, following the complete and three rule. That's always kind of the basis. So you could do like scrambled eggs with scrambled spinach, onions, peppers, whatever. Put that on top of sweet potato hash. You could do any type of like the squash veggies are delicious, like butternut squash, spaghetti squash, even mushrooms, onions, garlic, tomatoes, adding them all in a big breakfast bowl. And then it's almost like I always think of the like the potatoes or the sweet potatoes, kind of like a hash brown. So it's like
Hmm.
everything you would eat for breakfast, all in a bowl, mixed in with some
Yeah.
veggies. That's it.
Yeah.
It looks delicious. It tastes delicious. People all want to eat like all the things at breakfast.
So easy. I don't know what it is about me, but you know me too. I don't really like breakfast food. Like I don't like eggs and stuff like that. So it's just, yeah. I
That's why
always go with
smoothies are
like,
good for you.
that's what I was saying. I always go with smoothies for
Yeah.
breakfast because those are like, those are just my go-to is definitely smoothies because it's simple, right? Or if I make some sort of like a loaf or something, and I know we'll talk about that in a minute, but something like that where it's just like
Yeah.
really easy for me.
So then the next one is we're going to go quickly through these is adding spiralized zucchini or cauliflower rice or any type of veggie like that into your pasta or your rice. So you could
Hmm.
sub them out. But even what I've done, because I have a family that really likes to eat pasta and rice, so I just mix it in. So I make sure
Yeah,
that when
it's
I'm
like a
making
50-50.
yeah, it's like so they're getting that extra veggie intake, not really tasting it. And then again, it's just upping that amount of vegetables without taking away what it is. Sorry, guys. What it is that you are, what it is that you're eating, like spaghetti. You're just getting some more veggies mixed in with them.
Yeah. And I think that when you do it like as the mixed version, I find for a lot of people it's just such a simpler process because then it doesn't feel like, because I know sometimes it's the mindset of like, oh, I don't want to give up like my rice, right? But it's like you don't have to give it up. We can just like bulk it up. We can just switch gears a little bit and
Yeah.
then you're getting more vegetables, but you're still getting the thing that you desire or the thing that you really crave or maybe that you're used to eating.
And it's a really great way to start to, if you want to start to introduce it, we always talk about the add, swap, replace method. So adding it in, then maybe swapping it sometimes. So sometimes instead of having the pasta, you'll just have the zucchini noodles and then maybe
Yeah.
replace it all together. But just knowing you have those options, because for me, like I only eat the zucchini noodles, but my husband likes the pasta. So I just mix some in for his and then I just eat the zucchini noodles.
Yeah.
But then the next one is dips.
Hmm.
So this is something I love. We can sneak so many veggies into dip. We usually think about the dip as the thing for the veggie, but whereas we actually can mix in a lot. So
Yeah.
things like even if you buy store-bought hummus, you can also blend into that different veggies like carrots. You could blend in zucchini. You can blend in cucumbers, like things that, will change the taste of the hummus, but slightly. Or you can go all in with adding in some spinach, kale, whatever it is, but that's a really quick fix. Or the other thing too is just making your own dips from scratch. So blending up beans, blending up different, using Greek yogurt, things like that, and then adding a ton of vegetables into the blended smooth dip,
Hmm.
as opposed to having it chunky. Because so many times we forget the dip is such a great extra vehicle for protein, healthy fat, and veggies. We
I
just
think
kind
of
of think
that
of it
too.
as like, oh, it's the dip for the vegetables.
I think of that too, though, also not just dips, but also like sauces, right? And then it's like, it's not the same as soups and stuff because sauces, like if I make a spaghetti sauce or something like that, you like 100% are guaranteed that there's going to be mushrooms, peppers, there's probably going to be spinach as well. And it's all going to be blended into it and
Yeah.
put right in. And the color of the sauce will be completely different. The texture will be a little bit slightly different, but you don't notice it and you still enjoy it. Like my family eats it all the time. They have no idea. Dave's like, oh, like my husband, he's like, I don't like I don't like mushrooms. And I'm like, you just ate like 700 mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea because you didn't realize it because you don't see it. So when they visually don't see it, and I know I don't like tricking people, but at the same time, if I know that it's not going to change it and it's going to get like it's going to up the veggie intake, I'm doing it 100%.
But you know what? I'm the big believer. Some people are against, like, oh, you don't want to sneak things in or hide them. But I'm a big believer in you've got to meet people where they're at. And if they have the mindset of
Yeah,
thinking they don't like vegetables, and we could just start to get some in to get them more nutrition and energy and all of that, let's start
totally.
there. It's the same with kids. If you have kids that have never been exposed to vegetables and then you're trying to add it in, they're not going to like it, right? So if you have to at first bake cookies that have zucchini in them or broccoli blended or whatever it is hidden in there, just to get them that veggie intake while we work on changing their palate, go for that. You know what I mean? Because eventually then we could shift the mindset and start to open them up because a lot of times there's this resistance like I don't eat vegetables because I never liked them. But then when you're like, well, you've been eating vegetables, they're like, oh, wait a second, maybe I do like
I had
vegetables,
no
right?
idea. Exactly.
So this leads us to our last one is power loaves. So this is something
Yum.
that, like our power bowls, complete in three, protein, fiber, fat. These could be savory rolls or sweet rolls. So you could be baking almost like a version of, let's say, a banana bread with spinach, done with oat flour or almond flour. Again, lots, you could add protein powders into them, creating a loaf that's complete in three. So it's all in one, and then putting vegetables into it. Or doing
Hmm.
like a savory loaf, like a meatloaf, like old school meatloaf can be the perfect one pan meal, right? If you adding in the right things.
Yeah.
So turkey meatloaf with spinach or greens, like Swiss chard in it, it's delicious. And
Oh
then
my
adding a
gosh.
sauce. Used to love your meat muffins.
I was just gonna say, do you remember when we lived together and I used to make meat muffins
They were
and
amazing.
people were like, that sounds so disgusting. I'm like, they're so good though.
I'm actually
And it
gonna make
was
I'm
I'm
gonna make
gonna
those
make
this
them this
weekend.
week. Let's both make them.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll
and it
TikTok about them.
literally,
Follow us on
yeah,
TikTok. You'll see our meat muffins.
they're incredible, but it's just like it had spinach in it. They had
Oats.
oats, like they were so good. But it's funny, I just had this conversation with my daughter 2 days ago. We were talking about, because we had extra bananas, and she's like, "Oh, mom, let's make our muffins." And I was like, "Okay, well, we have to go to the grocery because we don't have zucchini." And she's like, "Okay." And then, but she realized, and she said out loud to me, she's like, "It's okay to put it in because you don't even notice it, because she doesn't. It doesn't change the flavor of the muffin really. We shred the zucchini in, but it's adding so much nutrition to it,
And
right? There's
moisture too, yeah.
and that's what I said to her, and she's like, "No, it's good." But she's obsessed with these muffins that we make, and they're sugar-free, dairy-free, and oil-free. And they're made with oats. We grind up oats. We do everything from scratch, and like they're so freaking delicious. And it's just bananas and zucchini and oats and stuff. It's not my recipe. It's actually on a blog called Bryn Did. So if anyone is interested in like searching it, it's zucchini banana muffins, but they're incredible. But it's just, but it's so true, right? There's so many interesting ways or different ways that you can just add your veggies in and still make things taste amazing. So just experiment, add pumpkin to things.
Oh, I love pumpkin. I
Oh,
always
it's
have
so
a
good.
can of unsweetened, like not pumpkin
Yeah.
pie filling, because my son loves it too, and it's always a backup. But it adds so much moisture and so many vitamins and minerals. So hopefully, guys, this podcast inspired you or inspired you for some ideas for your clients to up your veggie intake. Number one is just bringing it into your awareness. And if you just even start to think, how can I incorporate veggies at every meal instead of what am I going to eat based on a protein or carbs or whatever,
Make it your
thinking about the
highlight.
veggies, it will shift that. And hopefully, these 7 ideas will start to incorporate veggies at every meal for you. So if you
Yay.
guys want to learn more about nutrition and coaching, we have our fitness and nutrition expert certification and our holistic nutrition weight loss coach certification. Check it out at fitchicksacademy.com. We have our 2023 classes listed. Get on the wait list. Also, we have some special surprises coming up. So you want to make sure that you are checking it out and see what is yet to come. Okay,
Yay.
guys, have some fun veggie eating.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.